Hello everybody and welcome back. Good to talk to all of you again today. And today we are taking a look at the Ohio. This is a work in progress Tier 10 American battleship. Now do keep in mind that this is a work in progress ship, which means anything that I talk about can and potentially will change by the time she makes it onto the live servers. Although I should preface this particular ship by saying that to the most recent of my knowledge, and this has something to do with when they talked about the Naval Training Center, the NTC, that this is going to be a reward ship for the NTC, which I'm not sure if they're going to stick with the whole line regrinding thing. So there's a bit of a sort of an asterisk next to everything that I talk about, because if it is an NTC only ship, then only the really super dedicated people willing to regrind lines are going to be able to get her. And in that case, well, let's just say that Ohio, in my opinion, is quite a bit better than the Montana, even though she only has 8 guns. So, sort of the notable things to point out about Ohio, and there's a couple of sort of differences between her and the Montana. Of course, one of them is the fact that she's got 457mm guns, while Montana has 406mm guns. The 457s, and they are significant because, well, 457s overmatch stuff. So a lot of the cruisers out there that got that 30mm center section, which are able to bounce the normal 406s, well, the 457s just don't give a damn. So that's the first major thing. Second of all, her 457s are nice and accurate. She's got the Graf Spee type dispersion. Yeah, her shells have a tendency of, well, grouping up a lot. There are times where, yes, they still do look like battleship dispersions, but with salvos that are much tighter grouped, well, you have a tendency of being able to do some really nice salvos. So that's sort of the first notable difference. The second notable difference is the fact that Ohio has like an amazing heal. Well, at least for USN standards. First of all, it's better than the Montana heal. And second of all, it cools down in half the time. So yeah, you're going to see that with Ohio, you're going to be able to heal quite a bit. Alright, so that's sort of the first big sort of two things. Then there's some smaller differences. Ohio has better AA, which is something considering Montana's AA is already quite good. Armor profile wise, they're basically identical. And oh yeah, and one other thing, of course I forgot this, Ohio does have the improved secondaries. Her secondaries do go out to 7.5 kilometers base. Montana's only does 6 base, but well, Ohio is not as fast as Montana. So if you're a slower battleship at tier 10, the secondary sort of thing is a bit of a question mark. You don't really get to use it as much, and so I actually think that what's going to happen is that in most cases with Ohio, you're going to be using your primary guns, which are so damn good. Oh, and did I mention that salvo being tight thing? Yeah, that's a blap of an enemy Yoshino. Triple Citadel. Ohio can do these beautiful salvos, and even if you don't get the citadels, even if you're just getting the penetrations, she can get really good damage, right? So for me, I think, at least just from like playing her right now, I like her a heck of a lot more than I like the Montana. I feel like she is just a superior ship. Now with standard premium sort of ish ships, when that does happen, I would normally say, well, I would expect it to get some kind of a nerf. With Ohio, if this is supposed to be like an NTC reward, and it's like a regrinding reward, there's a bigger probability that it doesn't happen. That's at least a guess. And in that case, well, people who spend the time to regrind to her, especially if they're the better players, are really going to have a lot better time with her. No doubt about it. Like, when I play her, I'm a heck of a lot more consistent. Now, you might wonder, what's the difference really between her and Georgia? Because I did okay with Georgia, but she's not really one of my favorite battleships. And one of the big reasons is the fact that, well, Georgia's only got 9 guns, and her dispersion isn't like Siegfried, right? Had Georgia got Siegfried's dispersion, I would have been in love with her from day one, but Her dispersion times with only 6 guns, well, it's just not enough. But Ohio's got 8. And 8 is like one of those numbers that there is just the right amount of shells that even when you don't get the citadels, you're starting to get really good chunks of damage. And Ohio just works a lot better. She's a lot more comfortable, or at least with her main gun performance. And with 8 shells, just better chances of hitting stuff. And when you do hit stuff, better chance of doing very, very, very nice chunks of damage. And that was one of the things that, like, really Georgia didn't fully work out with me, right? But Ohio does. And I think the worst game I had playing her is a game where it ended just really, really fast. You know, one of those games that you just start and it finishes before you really are able to do much. That was probably my worst game. 94,000 damage, if I remember correctly. Every other game, it was like 150, 160. Some games into the 200 range. Pretty sure I can get even more. I just haven't played enough games with her yet. I mean, I've played a bunch, but not enough. Can still do more. And I think I will. She is just a really, really good ship. This is, of course, in stark contrast to the other work in progress ship, which I haven't talked about yet. The Thunderer, which is just like, why in the actual hell do you want to play this thing? Because it's basically, you could just take a Conqueror, slap on the 457s, and you'd get a better ship there. So Thunderer is a big question mark, but Ohio, no joke, this is, in my opinion, just markedly a better Montana. Because Montana has more shells, true, but Montana has, you know, slightly wonkier dispersion, so she's using numbers to make up for the wonkier dispersion, and she can't really overmatch certain parts of certain cruisers today. This ship just, yeah, you just ignore those 30mm pieces. You're just like, those don't exist. They're the same as the 25 and 27s. So, yeah, for me, Ohio is very good ship. Even in situations where you're just going for like the superstructure pens or whatever, you're going to be able to get good damage, because with the 457s, the shells individually do better damage as well. So overall conclusion so far is, yeah, Ohio is a ship that's a lot of fun that, you know, you should look forward to. Although having her being part of the NTC thing, yeah, I'm a little bit less thrilled about that, because she is just that much better, in my opinion, than the Montana. Like, you know, same armor, better AA, better heal. Realistically speaking, even more effective guns, if you want to think about it that way. Better at dealing with cruisers now, so it's like, yeah. Like, if she makes it in and I get my hands on her, of course I'll be really happy to play her. She, in her current form, is of course really, really good. And you'll notice that, like, when I'm taking shots at battleships, it's like, yep, you know, I'm hitting very consistently, hitting for good damage consistently, so lots of good things about Ohio. Things that with Montana might be a little bit like, a little bit less so. The one sort of difference between the two ships really is the fact that Montana is a little bit faster. Ohio, even with a flag, does I think like 29 point something, so she's like, the secondary thing is nice, but it's not really going to be a viable build, I think. She's kind of very different from Georgia in a way. Georgia does have the speed boost, so you can kind of, you know, charge into places, get into places quickly. Ohio, well, you're taking your kind of time sort of to get there. And because of that, and the fact that you have very effective main guns, I think that's what you're going to mostly be building towards. It's just main gun and using those guns to do damage. That Kremlin taking a shot, I'm a little bit too broadside there for my liking. Fortunately, I wasn't punished in this occasion, but I will be punished, right? Do keep in mind that Kremlin at 17 kilometers, I think her penetration is about 447 now. Ohio's side belt armor is 409, so even without depending on auto bounce, being angled to a certain level should allow you to get actual shatters. So sometimes I'm playing with fire. You know, when I see a battleship really sort of hitting that 17-18 kilometer range, sometimes I play with fire. Show them a little bit more broadside just so I can do something else, right? But at times I will end up paying for that, because I do think at one point in time I'm going to try to get through that little gap between those two islands, and I'm going to show this Kremlin another broadside, and this Kremlin is going to make me pay for it. Ohio overall, though, armor is good. If you angle correctly, if you do things correctly, if you don't be stupid like me on occasion, you will do perfectly fine. I've had games where, as Ohio, I just got into a nice position, got nicely angled, and I was able to be a pain in the butt for the opposing team, but there wasn't too much they could do to me. She's a nice, tough ship with nice, accurate guns. Oh, and speaking of the guns, one other thing, if you actually compare her penetration is, at longer ranges, only marginally worse than Kremlin. So think about that for a second. Like, her penetration is quite phenomenal. Now, ballistics-wise, maybe her ballistics isn't as amazing as some of the other ships, like the Russian battleships are, but her penetration performance, absolutely no joke. It's good penetration. I think if I compare it to Montana's, she's about, depending on the range, she's a chunk better, like a good probably, say like 5 to 6% better penetration. So, again, that's a ballpark figure because it depends on the distance and it depends. Oh, and this is me showing just that too much broadside. Sometimes, right? Sometimes you just show that a little bit too much and you get paddled. And that's what happened. That Kreml is able to get off a good salvo. Oh, but I did mention I have one of those heals, and watch these heals, right? Watch this time of the heal. I've popped it. I heal up quite a good amount. And watch how quickly this heal comes back, right? Yeah, just watch, because, hold on. There we go. 37 seconds for that heal to come back again. So, yeah, Ohio. She's not an easy ship to kill off. I have had on occasion, of course, she is still Montana, like I mentioned. So, yes, the Yamatos are still kind of a menace. They can still really hurt you. I've had the Yamatos hit me for like 37,000 through the battle, so yeah, it can still happen, but if you're careful and you do everything correctly, you can mitigate that risk. All in all, if it's an Ohio versus Montana choice right now for me, it's a no-brainer. Play the Ohio every single day of the week, because why not? More consistent guns, better overmatching capability, amazing heal, the same armor, like, better secondaries, which on occasion, like, hey, sometimes Lasted Sheffer, you gotta fight two battleships at close range. The secondaries do help. It's not like they're completely useless, right? But, of course, not building for secondary. You got better AA, and, like, the only thing that you kind of suck more at is the fact that you're a little bit slower. Like, I can sacrifice 2 knots of speed for better everything else. So, yeah, to me, it's a no-brainer. Ohio is a ship I would really want in my port. I really want to play her. But of course, like I said earlier, that if this is an NTC thing, I'd have probably that much more this to it. Anyways, so yeah, now that you've sort of heard me talk about Ohio, you've sort of seen some of her gameplay, and by the way, this is not like the best gameplay, this is just something to show some of her capabilities. What do you think? Are you looking forward to maybe getting your hands on her? How do you feel if, she ends up in the NTC and requires you to regrind? Are you going to be happy with that? Are you going to demand that she gets nerfed more so that she's just basically a Montana with a different gun set, aka kind of the Thunderer syndrome for ships? It's hard to say, right? Because honestly, Thunderer is one of those ships that makes me right now go like, what is the point of this besides the fact that, it's a copy-paste 1 or 2 small changes, which, by the way, legitimately Thunder is worse. It's like, what the hell's the point of that ship, right? But yeah, what do y'all think? Let me know in the comment section below. And final results screen. So, ooh, nice credit earnings, 603,000, 12,000 experience, 1,295 free experience, 204k damage. Of course, that Yoshino blap was really, really, really nice. I actually wasn't top EXP on this team. It actually goes to the 2 destroyers who did really, really good work. So, yay. Having good DDs always make life a little bit easier. And yeah, look at that 51,850 damage on that Yoshino. Woohoo. Total credits earned, 431k with premium account, 296 if I was on a free account. And that's all I have to say about Ohio for now. She's a good ship. Look forward to getting her in my port, with the exception if she's an NTC ship. Anyways, folks, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you like what you see in Ohio. Let me know all of your thoughts and whatever in the comment section below. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to all of you again soon.